Through you to the members, I rise in support of Amendment 53, an amendment that, if adopted, will provide much-needed support and revenue to the Commonwealth's transportation system, which, as we all know, unfortunately has been ravaged by COVID. Now, prior to this novel pandemic, the MBTA, RTAs, and our infrastructure systems were in dire need of modernization. Across the system, the state suffered from a $10 billion state of good repair deficit, and that number was growing each and every day. System-wide improvements were needed, from track and signal upgrades to micromobility infrastructure to congestion mitigation to electrification to climate resiliency, road safety, fare reform, increased frequency of service, bridge repair, and large-scale expansion projects such as the Red-Blue Connector and East-West Rail. And that's just to name a few. I could go on. But nonetheless, here we are now, 9 months after the start of this crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated all of these woes, and in some cases, to bleak ends. Just last week, MassDOT announced draconian service cuts across the system, and I know that my colleagues in this chamber are acutely aware of the same. To be clear, these austerity measures will not serve to worsen the crisis. They'll only serve to worsen the crisis. Our most vulnerable populations, our first responders, and our frontline workers rely on our public transportation system each and every day. Without safe, clean, frequent, and reliable transit, we are failing those who need us the most. We are failing those immensely, and we are failing ourselves. We are failing the Commonwealth. Crisis after crisis has proven that the only way forward is not through austerity, but through government intervention, investment, and partnership. Still, it is not COVID alone that has caused our transportation troubles. The cracks in our roadways and the railways existed prior to this pandemic. Now, recognizing this need, at the start of the session, Senate President Spilker tasked the Senate Transportation Committee with forming a working group to address the most critical policy needs in our transit system. After nearly a year and a half of work, our framework for the future of transit in this Commonwealth was laid. Unfortunately, as go the best laid plans, so comes COVID. Creating a new set of policy priorities for transportation, resetting the way we live, the way we work, and now the way we move. Still, through the tireless efforts of this chamber and its leadership, we have adapted to the crisis. We have managed to enact effective transportation reform. Those reforms include the Chapter 90 bond bill, the Fiscal Management Control Board expansion, and the Transportation Bond Bill. These will continue to address our transportation needs. And even in this budget, the gentleman from Westport and his staff endeavored to address transportation needs. They endeavored to leave the MBTA's operating subsidy intact from fiscal year 20. They've endeavored a new way of accelerating sales tax collection that could net the MBTA an additional $40 million. And now this, we have the opportunity to further help and assist our public transportation system by adopting Amendment 53. This language before us today presents us with another unique opportunity to address two distinct transportation needs. It is a direct result of the Transportation Working Group's efforts, similarly proposed by the Governor and the House. And this language in Amendment 53 represents the broad consensus on the need for reform. First, this new fee structure attempts to address congestion and incentivize public transit usage through fees targeted and consumer behavior. Second, it redirects these funds directly to the CTF, providing much needed revenues to our anemic public transportation system. Now, this this language should not be taken as a conclusive package on transportation, although it is an additional tool to encourage behavior change and support our public transportation system. It should also not be a commentary on any single industry or issue. Because we know the same way there is no silver bullet to correct our transportation woes, there's no one cause causing all these issues. And even after the adoption of this language, there is still much work to be done. We need a new deal for transportation in this Commonwealth. A new deal for the people of this Commonwealth. And with that said, I hope this amendment is adopted.